not even sure I can sleep tonight though. Equitas clutched her chest. This one is too heavy to keep. My heart is pounding like ogene. Boom, boom, boom. I feel like ringing the village bell myself right now to gather the villagers and announce to them that the king is impotent and that Onukwe, the village hunter, is the father of Prince Ebube. Once upon a time, in the warm and laughter-filled heart of the east, there sat a prosperous village called Ofianta. A village so blessed that even the sun smiled longer when it passed by. Ofianta was a place where yam bands overflowed, where rivers sparkled with more fish than water, and where the market women sang while selling food so cheap that you would even wonder if they were doing charity. Life was sweet and everyone was happy. But that was before the storm came. And the storm, my dear listeners, did not arrive in the form of thunder or flood. No. It came wrapped in swaddling clothes, screaming like a town crier on a market day. I mean, trouble entered the land of Ofianta in the form of a newborn baby. From the very first wail, the villagers knew that this baby was different. Her cry was so loud that birds flew out of trees. Even the goats tied in the bushes stopped chewing as they looked around in confusion. Ewo, this one no be baby cry o, said Mama Misoma the moment she heard it. Na radio station dem born. But for all her volume, one thing was certain. She was breathtakingly beautiful, with skin like fresh palm oil and eyes that sparkled like the river under moonlight. She was beautiful, too beautiful. Her mother Uloma held her tightly, tears of joy pouring down her cheeks. For 3 whole years, she had prayed like Anna in the Bible, fasted endlessly, drank bitter herbs every morning as if it was a ritual. And finally, her bundle of joy had arrived. Meanwhile, her husband Obioma, who was at the farm earlier that morning, heard the news and dropped his cutlass like a hot yam. Without looking back, he ran. The kind of run that would make you think he was being chased by 70 masquerades. People swore they saw his feet touch the ground only 3 times before he reached Norma, the village midwife's hut. As he drew close and heard the baby's voice, more like a trumpet actually, his heart did backflips in his chest. And when he stepped into the room and saw his wife glowing with joy and holding the child, his knees almost gave way. That joy in her face was just everything to him, because he knew how much she had prayed and cried for this child. Ulama smiled through her tears as soon as she saw him and said, "Look, Obioma, I think she looks like me." Obioma, still breathless from running, took the child gently and stared at her face. "She is as beautiful as her mother," he whispered, emotion thick in his voice. "I'm so happy. Finally, we have a child to call our own." He looked at the child again and said with pride, "We shall call her Ekutos." And so, in their little warm home, Uloma and Obioma raised Ekutos with more love than there was rain in the rainy season. She was their laughter, their lights, their joy, their answered prayer. Everything she needed, as long as they could afford it, was given to her without question. Her clothes were always clean, her hair always well braided, and her belly was always satisfied. Ekutas grew into a happy, radiant, beautiful young girl. And that, my dear listeners, was when the real trouble began. When Equitas came of age, it was time to start school. Like every hopeful parent in the village, Uloma and Obioma did the needful. They marched proudly to the only primary school in Ofianta and enrolled their precious jewel. They had high hopes. Oh yes, very high hopes. They dreamed of her one day, wearing glasses and speaking big grammar, living in a big city, or maybe even marrying a doctor or a lawyer. After all, they wanted a better life for her, unlike Uloma, her mother, who was a hairdresser, or Obioma, who had been farming since the days of his grandfather's home. They were ready to do anything to support her dreams. What they didn't know was that they were about to receive the greatest heartbreak of their lives. Equitas, their beautiful, radiant, sweet-faced child, was a complete academic disaster. Her beauty could win pageants, but her report cards, a full-blown tragedy. She didn't just fail, she failed with flying colors, if there was ever a thing like that. Equitas would repeatedly come last in class, and the worst part of it was that it didn't even bother her one bit. That same day, you would see her devouring one big plate of rice as she told stories that no one even bothered to listen to. At first, her parents believed it was just early struggle. Maybe she would catch up with time. So they spent what little savings they had and hired lesson teachers, 2 in fact, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. But, woe, it was like pouring water on a stone. Equitas continued to fail with style, F9 with fineness. And she always had an excuse. It's the teacher, Mama. He doesn't like me. That mass, my classmates copied from me and they all passed. I don't know why my teacher hates me so much. Uloma and Obioma cried in secret many nights. Their pillow heard all their prayers. They wondered where they had gone wrong. They weren't rich, but they had given her love and care and all the support she needed. In fact, they had really tried their best raising Equitas to be a good child. But Equitas, all she cared about was food, sleep, and gossip. She would wake up whenever her spirit allowed her, eat until her belly sang, then roam the village like a news reporter on patrol, her voice louder than a town crier with a megaphone. Even the village bell feared Equitas. Still, Obioma and Uloma held on to hope. She's still a child, they would whisper to themselves, even when she was already taller than the compound gate. She will grow up and change, they would say, to console their hearts because, at least, all they could do at this point was to hope. But as the years passed, and Equitas blossomed into a fine young woman, she didn't change. Oh, she got worse. Not only did she become more irresponsible, she also found her special God-given talents, gossip. Now, everyone gossips, we know, but Equitas's own, it was the advanced pro level. She gossiped with precision, performance, and with so much passion. Her ears were sharper than a rabbit's, and her mouth like 24 trumpets. Once she opened it, no secret was safe again. And you see her sources? That one was never a problem at all. Equitas knew how to hunt for gist the same way a cat hunts rats. Silent, strategic, and with wicked precision. She was always at the right place at the right time and with the right face. Some said she was gifted. Others swore her ears had spiritual antennas, because you will even be wondering how she heard it. Her number one hunting ground, the village market on Eke days. Once the rooster crowed, Equitus would grab her nylon bag, which hardly had anything inside, tie her wrapper tight and set off like a woman on a mission. She would stroll from one stall to another, pretending to price items she had no intention of buying. "Auntie, how much is this pepper?" 15 naira. "Ah, too cost though. I saw it 20 naira at Mamebere's stall." Lies. She wasn't buying anything. She was there to listen, and nothing escaped her. Especially when she saw two or more women huddled together, whispering like thieves, sharing loot. Equitus would slowly walk near, pretending to admire tomatoes or check for fresh okra, while her ears were picking hot premium gists like a satellite dish. And oh, you would be shocked by the type of information Equitus gathered. From who was fighting her co-wife, to who saw the chief priest's son sneaking out of a widow's hut, to which pregnant woman was still sleeping in her father's house. Equitus heard it all and remembered everything. But her market rounds were just part one of her daily operation. Come evening time, she would carry her water pot on her head and head towards the village stream. But this wasn't because she needed water. Oh, no. The river served as another hot spot for fresh gossip. As other maidens gossiped, while rinsing their clothes or pounding it on stones, Equitus would walk slowly, balancing her empty pot like a model on a runway, scanning faces and tuning into conversation like a radio with fine reception. So that's why she hasn't been coming to the market. Yes now, they said her husband caught her by the corner of their house, talking to that hunter with one eye. Ewo. Equitus would pretend not to hear, but in her head, she was already organizing the story in chapters. Still, her most sacred base, the headquarters of Hot Gist International, was none other than her mother's hair salon. Ah, that salon, my dear, was a blessing and a curse. A one-stop shop for hairstyles, heartbreak and hot gossip. It was the village gold mine of information. Uloma, her mother, being one of the best hairdressers in Ofianta, always had a full house of women from different parts of the village. The salon buzzed like a beehive every day, and as the women's hair got braided, so did their tongues loosen. At first, Uloma tried to involve Equitus in something productive. After the girl repeated the same class 5 years in a row, she sighed deeply and said, maybe going to school is not for her. Let her learn hairdressing at least. But even the hairdressing, Equitus couldn't even hold a strand of attachments. Instead of learning how to braid, she was busy tuning her gossip antenna to full volume. While her mother was fixing cornrows, Equitus was mentally recording every whisper the women shared. She listened with eagle ears, nodded like a priest taking confessions, and before the women could even stand from the chair, their stories were already flying around town. And Equitus didn't just talk, she performed. She would reenact the whole gist with body movements, facial expression, sound effects, and even throw in imaginary flashback. People said if there was ever an Academy Award for gossip, Equitus would win it year after year, back to back, without campaign. She was no longer just a girl. She was the village radio, the human newspaper, the gossip queen of Ofianta. But as with every overflowing pot, one day it must spill. Equitus' mouth began to bring wahala, very big wahala. She was no longer just spreading harmless market rumors, no. She started poking her nose into sacred family secrets, breaking homes and destroying friendships. Her favorite line whenever anyone warned her was simple: "It's not gossip, it's called public awareness. I'm doing this village a favor and you all should be thankful." One bright morning, Equitas was at it again. She strolled into the village market with her usual swagger, nylon bag in hand, pretending she wanted to buy tomatoes. But her ears, they were wide open like satellite dishes, fully tuned and ready to pick up premium signal. As she walked from stall to stall, her attention was suddenly drawn to two women whispering by the corner. It was Mama Emeka and her loud-mouthed friend, Nelo. And from the way they leaned close and looked around suspiciously, Equitas knew that hot gist was loading. "You don't mean it. This is unbelievable," Nelo gasped in shock. "So you mean Mama Chuka sleeps with that palm wine tapper Okeke?" Mama Emeka nodded aggressively. "Hey, abomination. Tofiakwa. Her fine husband is no longer enough for her. I caught them red-handed behind my farm, in the bush, and this is not even the first time. Wonders shall never end," Equitas whispered to herself, her eyes wide with wicked delight. She snapped her fingers dramatically and slipped away like a trained spy. Her heart was pounding with excitement as she hurried off. "Her husband must hear this," she whispered. "How can Mama Chuka do this? That poor man deserves the truth." As she walked home, she could barely keep the joy off her face. "But who should I tell first?" she asked, smiling to herself like a child with stolen meat. The moment she stepped into their compound, Uloma was already standing at the front of the hut with her arms folded like a soldier. "Equitas, where did you go this early morning?" Uloma asked, voice rising. But Equitas clapped her hands together dramatically, ignoring the question. "Mama, you won't believe what is happening in this small village." Uloma blinked in confusion. "What are you talking about?" "Mama Chuka is sleeping with Okeke the palm wine tapper," she announced proudly, her voice flying louder than the village bell. Uloma jumped. "Hey, Sofiakwa, where did you hear that one?" Mama Emeka caught them red-handed inside her farm. "That woman is so shameless. Mama, she's so shameless." Uloma dropped her hand on her head as she stared at Equitas with fear in her eyes. "So, this is what you have achieved this morning, Equitas. You woke up and the first thing you did is to go to the market to hunt for gossip. Listen to me. Nobody must hear this. Do you understand me? Even if it's true, no one must hear it from you. This is not a small matter. If it turns out to be a lie, it will land you in trouble." Equitas sighed. Mama, I'm sure of what I heard, and Papa Chuka deserves to know the truth. How can his wife be this wicked? "You must keep your mouth shut, Equitas," Uloma snapped again, pointing a warning finger. "Meet me at the salon as soon as you are done with your chores." Equitas nodded slowly like a respectful child, but inside her heart, the matter was already boiling like overcooked beans. The moment her mother left for the salon, Equitas grabbed a piece of old wrapper and made her way to the edge of the village where Papa Chuka had a small tailoring shop. She walked in with a cheerful smile. "Good afternoon, Papa Chuka. I came to stitch my mother's wrapper." Papa Chuka smiled back, collected the material and began to examine it. Just then, Equitas cleared her throat. Papa Chuka, does your wife have any business with Okeke the palm wine tapper? Like, does she want to learn how to tap wine?" "Wine kwa?" Papa Chuka burst into laughter. "It's a taboo for a woman to tap wine in this village. And with how fat my wife is, can she even climb a tree?" Equitas joined in the laughter, slapping her knee. I thought as much, oh. Very well, silence filled the room as Papa Chuka focused on his sewing. But suddenly he raised his head and gave her a long look. But why did you ask? Did anything happen? Equitas bit her lower lip. This one is not easy to say at all, oh. It's not a small thing, and I don't want to be the one to destroy your home. My mother even warned me. Papa Chuka frowned. To tell me what? Equitas, talk to me if there's something you know. She leaned forward dramatically. I've told you. It's not from my mouth that you will hear that Okeke is sleeping with your wife in Mama Emeka's farm. Papa Chuka froze. What? What did you just say? Okeke is sleeping with my wife? Equitas gasped. Hey, you heard it? I didn't even know when it slipped out though. I thought I was still saying it in my mind. Before Papa Chuka could press further, Equitas snatched the wrapper from the table and dashed out of the shop like lightning. Her mission was complete. She had finally removed the burning truth from her chest. By now, she was sure Papa Chuka would be running home like a madman. And just as expected, that was how Papa Chuka's marriage scattered like firewood in a storm. But did Equitas stop there? No. In fact, she was just beginning. One sunny afternoon, Equitas was inside her mother's salon, pretending to sweep the floor. But truthfully, she was sweeping with one hand and eavesdropping with both ears. In one corner of the shop, two maidens sat waiting for their turn and whispering softly. Their voices were low, too low. But come on, this was Equitas we are talking about. Her ears were not ordinary, they had supernatural abilities. From the moment she noticed them whispering, her instincts jumped. Something was definitely cooking. I'm glad I took your advice, Amaka whispered. If not, I would have ended up disgraced in this village. As soon as I told Obiora I was tired of waiting and wanted to settle down in marriage, he proposed immediately. Her friend Ma leaned in proudly. See, I am very experienced in this field, and you know I will always have your back. Obiora loves you. Once you get married and he begins to sleep with you, he won't even know the child you are carrying isn't his. That fool Okafo can go and jump into the river for all I care. Let him watch you in shame as you walk down the aisle. That was all Equitas needed to hear. She abandoned the broom immediately and rushed outside, holding her waist like someone whose intestines were boiling. Hey! Wonders shall never end in this our small village, she shouted, turning in circles. Okafo got Amaka pregnant, and now she wants to pin it on Obiora. What kind of wickedness is this? Mbana, not on my watch. I must stop this evil marriage. She began pacing furiously. Who should I tell now? I can't tell Mama. Where can I find Obiora? This kind of hot information cannot slip under my tongue. I need to get it out. Before evening came, Equitas had already gathered every detail she needed about Obiora's movements. She found out the exact footpaths he normally took while returning from his farm. And so, with determination burning in her chest, she tiptoed down the narrow bush paths and waited. Not long after, Obiora appeared, tired and dusty from farm work. Good evening, no, brother Obiora, Equitas greeted sweetly, flashing her widest smile. Equitas, what are you doing here? Obiora asked, looking surprised. I am waiting for my friend, she lied smoothly. Alright then, you two should be fast, it's getting dark, he replied, and began to walk past. But Equitas rushed beside him. I saw your wife today. She came to make her hair in our salon and it came out beautifully. You have good eyes though. I heard you two are getting married in 2 days' time. Congratulations. Obiorah's face lit up like a lantern. Thank you so much, Ekutus. That's very kind of you. You don't have to worry. I made sure to take very good care of her. You know, she was even throwing up and I got her some herbs. But she said she can't take just anything because she's pregnant. We had to use bitter cola instead. I hope it's a boy and I pray he looks like you. Obiorah stopped dead in his tracks. What? What did you just say? Ekutus blinked innocently. Ah, you don't want the villagers to know that Amaka is pregnant? I am sorry, I didn't know it was a secret. You said Amaka is pregnant, he asked again, eyes wide with shock. Oh no, she gasped suddenly. I forgot you're Obiorah. Ah, I'm so silly. It's Okafor that got her pregnant. Since you don't know, it's like she wants to pin the pregnancy on you. What are you saying? Obiorah stammered, clearly shaking. Deep down, something about the story made sense, because he had been wondering why Amaka suddenly became desperate to marry. I have to look for my friend, Ekutus said, and took off like a goat that remembered it hadn't eaten. Her job was done. She knew Obiorah had received the message. That night, fire entered the air. Obiorah didn't wait for the cock to crow. The moment Amaka stepped into his compound that evening, he confronted her with thunder in his voice. I don't know what you're talking about, Amaka said, her eyes shifting. She tried to laugh it off, but the tremble in her voice betrayed her. Ekutus told me everything, Obiorah snapped. I asked you about Okafor, and you denied it. So he got you pregnant and you want to use me as your cover? You want to destroy my life after everything I have done for you and your family. This relationship, everything, this relationship is over. At that point, Amaka knew the truth had poured out of the basket. She opened her mouth to deny again, but the words wouldn't come. Her knees went weak. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she dropped to the ground begging. Obiorah, please. I didn't mean for it to go this way. I was so scared. I thought I could fix it. Please forgive me. But Obiorah had heard enough. His heart was shattered. Amaka stumbled out of the compound, broken, ashamed, and furious. That girl Ekutus, she muttered through clenched teeth. She will pay for ruining my life. I will deal with her. I will squeeze that mouth of hers till she forgets how to speak. Ekutus had always somehow managed to escape the consequences of her sharp tongue. Gossip after gossip, scandal after scandal, and yet she moved around the village like she was untouchable. But this time, Amaka was not having it. She had lost her relationship, her dignity, and nearly her future, and there was no way she was letting this slide. The next evening, Amaka and her loyal friend Mma waited like hungry lions at the river. They knew Ekutus. She was a creature of habits. She would surely show up in her usual way, swinging her hips, pot balanced on her head, and eyes scanning left and right like a security camera. And they were right. Not long after, there she came. Ekutus, the village radio, strutting down the paths with a wide grin like the river belonged to her ancestors. She was humming and twisting her waist like someone in a beauty pageant. She had no idea that danger was waiting behind the water. The moment Amaka and Mma spotted her, they charged forward like wrestlers. Before Ekutus could even blink, they grabbed her by her collar. What did you tell Obiorah, you little witch? Mma barked, her eyes flaming. What I told Obiora, Equitas stammered, trying to smile. I only congratulated him. I didn't tell him any. Pah! A slap landed on her cheek so fast that it nearly reset her memory. Then another came, and another. Amaka and Mma descended on her like angry spirits. It was 2 against 1, and Equitas had no chance. Her only strength was in her tongue, and she didn't have a single strength to fight back. And you see that her mouth, that was exactly where they focused most of their punches. The other girls by the river just watched, arms folded. Nobody moved. In fact, one of them was even shelling granules. Equitas had offended every single one of them at one point or another, spreading rumors, accusing one of sleeping with her uncle, even revealing another's secret lover. Nobody was coming to save her. Next time, learn to mind your business, Amaka shouted, slamming another blow on her shoulder. I hope this teaches her a lesson, one girl whispered to another. Maybe now her mouth will rest small. By the time they were done, Equitas was unrecognizable. She limped home with one eye nearly shut, her lips swollen like overripe mangoes, her arms covered in bruises. Ulama screamed when she saw her. Ewo! What happened to you? Mama, is it not that village dumping ground, Amaka, and her useless friend, Mma? Equitas sobbed, dragging one leg across the compound like an injured soldier. You mean Amaka and Mma did this to you? Ulama's eyes widened. What did you do to them to make them beat you up like this? Mama, I didn't do anything, no, Equitas cried louder. They said I ruined Amaka's marriage because I told Obiora the truth. What truth are you talking about? Ulama's brows tightened in confusion. Amaka is pregnant for Okafo, and she tried to pin it on Obiora. I heard them discussing it and I said, no, this can't happen. Obiora doesn't deserve such wickedness. So you told him, Ulama screamed. You told Obiora. How is it your business, Equitas? Hey, this girl has finished me, oh. Why? Why do you keep disgracing us in this village? Can't you just shut your mouth for once? Mama, what did I do? I only did the right thing, Equitas cried harder. I stopped evil from happening. It's that stupid Obiora that went and mentioned my name. Why must he tell them that I told him? I was only trying to help him. Ulama stared at her daughter speechless. Her lips moved but no words came out. After a long sigh, she shook her head slowly. I hope this beating teaches you something. I hope from now on you will learn to keep your mouth shut, she said as she walked away rubbing her head. For days, Equitas stayed indoors, unable to move properly. Her body ached in places she never knew. The swelling on her lips was so bad that even speaking hurt. Ulama hoped that this was finally the turning point, the great silence Ofianta had been waiting for. But 2 weeks later, just when peace was beginning to return, Equitas bounced back. Stronger, bolder, louder, fully recharged and loaded. And this time, she wasn't sparing anybody. One quiet evening, Obioma called out to Equitas from the hut. Go and get me snuff from Ifeka's place down the village, he said, digging into his wrapper and handing her some coins. And please, do not waste time. I don't want you going around poking your nose in things that don't concern you. Ah, Papa, Equitas grinned. I will be back before you even remember you sent me. I won't even blink on the road. With that, she took off in her usual fashion. Full speed, wrapper flapping, feet dancing, like she was on a mission to save the village. Her mind was set, straight to Ifeka's hut and back, nothing more. But this was Equatus we are talking about. Just as she entered the narrow bush path that led to the snuff seller's compound, her ears twitched. Wait, what was that? She slowed her pace. Two voices, a man and a woman. Not loud, but sharp and filled with tension. They were standing just by the edge of the bush, arguing in hushed tones, but the rage in their voices was clear. "You know I shouldn't be here this late," the woman said, her voice shaky. "I don't want my husband to start looking for me." "And what husband is that?" the man snapped. "The one who can't even impregnate his wife?" Equatus froze. "Chineke," she whispered. "Who is talking like this?" "You are mad, Onukwe," the woman hissed. "Don't speak about your king like that. We had an agreement, and you can't keep ripping me off like this." "Agreements?" The man, now clearly Onukwe, scoffed. "You should be thanking me for giving the king an heir. Or should I go ahead and tell the whole village that the prince is not the king's son?" "Onukwe, no. Please," the woman begged. "You know this will destroy everything. The entire kingdom. What do you want me to do? I've given you all the money you've asked for all these years. What else do you want from me?" Equatus' heart started racing like a drum in a masquerade festival. By now the voices were familiar. She clutched her chest. "Oh, my ears, she whispered in disbelief. It was the queen and Onukwe, one of the village hunters. They were the ones speaking. And from what she had just heard, the king was impotent and the prince wasn't even his own. This was no longer gossip. This was an earthquake disguised as a secret. Onukwe's voice suddenly rose again. "I want 2 bags of gold coins. I want to take a new wife, and I need that money." "Onukwe, what have I done to deserve this?" the queen sobbed. "Where do you expect me to get 2 bags of gold coins? What will I tell the king?" "I don't care. I don't even want to know. You have 2 weeks. 2 weeks, Onukwe thundered. Or I will shake this entire village with the truth." With that, he stormed off, leaving behind the sound of quiet sobs. Equatus stood frozen behind a thick mango tree, one hand over her mouth, the other gripping her wrapper like it might fly away with the secret. Her ears were ringing, her knees were weak, her heart pounded so loud. She was surprised the queen didn't even hear it. "Hey, abomination," she whispered under her breath. "So the king is shooting sand, and the queen went to hunt for a baby in another man's forest. Hi!" She snapped her fingers. "Wonders shall never end in this Ofianta village." Her body shook with excitement. This was not the kind of news one just sits on. It was too hot, too juicy, too royal. But still she didn't move. Not yet. She waited quietly until she saw the queen finally step out from the shadows and walk away in shame. Only then did Equatus slowly step out, whispering, "This one will scatter the village, oh. Who should I tell first?" When Equatus finally returned home, night had already fallen. Obioma was pacing back and forth in front of the hut, his face tight with anger. "So, what took you so long, Equatus?" he barked the moment she stepped into the compound. Equatus dropped the snuff and threw her hands in the air. Papa, it's my calling, no, my ministry. Hi, this Ofianta is a small village, but the kind of things happening here, unbelievable." Uloma, who had been sitting on a stool by the fire, turned sharply. "Equatus, you've started again with this your baseless gossip. Can't you ever mind your business, eh?" Business kwa. Equitas widened her eyes. Mama, have I ever opened my mouth and somebody came out to say I lied? Just tell me one person, just one. Everybody knows Equitas doesn't lie. I just say what I see and what I hear. She placed her hand on her chest dramatically. And it's not like I go about looking for trouble. I will just be on my own and hot gist will locate me. And the way this my ears pick signals, after what I heard today, I now believe that I have been chosen by the gods of this land to tell people their truth. Because how else could I have known something like this? Uloma exchanged a long tired glance with her husband. Both parents stared at their daughter like they were looking at a ticking time bomb. Mama, Papa, Equitas said excitedly. You people don't want to hear what I saw today. You did not even ask me what I saw. Equitas, Obioma said with his jaw clenched. Please, just go inside. I'm not even sure I can sleep tonight though. Equitas clutched her chest. This one is too heavy to keep. My heart is pounding like ogene. Boom, boom, boom. I feel like ringing the village bell myself right now to gather the villagers and announce to them that the king is impotent and that Onukwe, the village hunter, is the father of Prince Ebube. Ta! Mechionugi! Obioma thundered, jumping to his feet. Shut up that mouth of yours. Equitas took a quick step back. Hey, Papa, why are you shouting? Don't you even want to know how I heard it? Uloma rushed over, panicking. Where did you hear that kind of thing from Equitas? Her voice was trembling, her hand on her chest. I overheard the queen and Onukweo, Equitas whispered, her eyes shining like a lantern. He was threatening her. Before she could finish, Uloma slapped her palm over her daughter's mouth. Come inside now, she hissed. Together, Uloma and Obioma dragged her quickly into the hut, like criminals smuggling contraband. Once inside, Obioma turned to her with a trembling voice. Equitas, he said slowly, you must never repeat this. Please, my daughter, this is not small gossip. If this news spread, it will destroy the palace, the entire kingdom, and they will trace it to us. We will be disgraced. I am begging you, not as your father, but as someone whose entire life is in your hands right now. Please, my daughter, Uloma added, we are not asking for too much. Just keep this one. Pity us. Let no ear hear this from your mouth. Equitas pouted, folding her arms tightly. Her whole body itched to release the gist. But looking into her parents' terrified eyes, she felt a tiny prick of guilt. It's okay, Mama. Papa, I've heard you. You know me. What you're asking for is very difficult. But I will try my best. I will try. That night, Uloma and Obioma didn't sleep. Even though the news had shaken them to the core, their greater fear was whether their daughter would be able to keep such an explosive secret buried. They turned and turned on their raffia mats, worry tightening their chests. What kind of child is this? Uloma whispered, tears gathering in her eyes. I don't know how she manages to hear all of this. What do we do, Obioma? We can't let her go out tomorrow and say this. I don't know, Obioma sighed. We've said everything we can. Now, we just have to hope she listens. That's if she's not already halfway to the palace, Uloma replied, sitting up suddenly. The two parents looked at each other with alarm, then rushed to Equitas' small hut behind the main house. They gently pushed open the curtain, and there she was, fast asleep, her mouth slightly open, her feet hanging off the mat. Uloma sighed in relief. Obioma nodded slowly. They tiptoed back to their hut and lay down again, their minds still heavy. But the storm, the real storm, it hadn't even started. From the very next day, Uloma took matters into her own hands. No more freedom for Equitus. Whether she liked it or not, she must follow her mother to the salon every single day. Whether she was useful there or not didn't matter anymore. Obioma and Uloma had made a firm decision. This girl must never be left alone again. And for a while it worked. The village was peaceful. No scandals, no drama, no broken homes or scattered marriages. For one whole week, Equitus was silent, and to her parents, it was a miracle. Uloma and Obioma even began to relax soon. "She's finally learning," Uloma said one morning as they braided her side by side in the salon. But what they didn't know was that Equitus hadn't changed, not even one bit. While they were celebrating her silence, she was quietly plotting, and her plan, it was nothing small. She was going to meet the king himself. Yes, the king. In her mind, she had repeated the line over and over. "I cannot be a true daughter of Ofianta and hold this kind of information in my chest. The king must know the truth. He needs to know that he is childless and that he is impotent. I have been chosen for this." The real problem now was how to get into the palace with all those heavily armed guards and watchful eyes. But Equitus was not an ordinary girl. Where others saw a wall, she saw a door. And doors, Equitus always found a way to open them. So, one sunny afternoon, Equitus put on her best outfit, wore her brightest smile, and carried a small basket filled with mangoes, bananas, and roasted groundnuts. "Today is the day," she whispered to herself, as she walked briskly down the dusty path towards the palace. Her eyes were fixed, her mouth rehearsing the lines she would say. She didn't even stop to greet Mama Ekene, who waved excitedly as she passed. When she arrived at the palace gate, she met two fierce-looking guards standing like stone statues. "I have come to see the king," she said sweetly. "I brought some fruits as a gift, just to appreciate him for being a good ruler." The guards looked at the basket and then at her. Then they looked at each other. "We will deliver your gift and your message," one of them said. "But you can't see the king. This is his resting hour." "But I need to see him myself," Equitus insisted. "The message I have is too important to be delivered second-hand." The guards shook their heads. "Sorry, leave your basket and go." Equitus stepped aside, clutching the basket tightly, thinking fast. She hadn't come all this way just to turn back. She didn't want to tell the message. She wanted to watch the king's face as he heard it. That was where the real fun lied. And just like that, an idea struck her. She opened her mouth and began to scream. Not just ordinary shouting, or full drama like someone who had been beaten by a lion. "Let me see the king go! I came from far. I brought fruits, oh! Let me see the king myself, oh!" The guards were stunned. They looked at each other in panic. From the garden where the king had been reclining under the shade of a tree, he heard the shouting. He raised a brow. "What's going on at the gate?" he asked the guard. The guard left immediately and returned. "It's a maiden, your majesty. She brought you some fruits and insists on seeing you herself." The king chuckled. "A maiden, you say? Let her in." And just like that, Equitus entered the palace. She walked in proudly, her basket in hand, her eyes scanning everything like she was measuring the palace for a future wedding. The king sat under a carved wooden canopy, sipping palm wine, smiling warmly as she approached. "Please, sit," he said kindly. Equitas curtsied deeply and took her seat. Her eyes sparkled. This was the first time she was sitting so close to royalty. She had seen the king at festivals and events, but never came this near. The king smiled again. "To what do I owe this pleasant visit? And I hear you came with a message for me." "Yes, my king," Equitas said, bowing again. "I have heard many beautiful things about you. The people love you, and you are a blessing to our land. I thought to myself, why don't I bring a small gift to say thank you? It's not much, but I came from the depth of my heart." The king clapped lightly. "I'm impressed. Very impressed. I didn't know such a wise and thoughtful maiden existed in this kingdom. Tell me, whose daughter are you?" "My father is Obioma of the Ikuku clan," she replied proudly. "Ah, he must be very proud of you. Let's offer her kola." In minutes, Equitas was devouring roasted chicken and sipping sweet palm wine like a royal guest. She laughed politely, answered questions like a diplomat, and smiled like a bride on wine-carrying day. But in her mind, the real task was burning. She hadn't come for chicken and wine. She came for truth, or more specifically, to deliver the truth that will shake the entire kingdom. Now, seeing how kind the king is, most people would have quietly enjoyed his kindness and gone home grateful, but not Equitas. She had waited weeks for this moment, and now she finally found her entry point. "My king," she said, suddenly rising to her feet, "I will be going soon, but before I leave, I have one last gift for you." The king chuckled. "Aren't you full of surprises, beautiful one?" Equitas stretched her arms like a prophetess on the mountain. Then she burst into a song.
Great king with crown upon your head, crown upon your head, a secret sleeps upon your bed. The hunter danced where he should not dance. The queen gave him a secret chance. He climbed her roof while the moon was dim, and now your son may look like him. Ekuto, should I speak or should I hush? Truth will burst like a ripened gourd. Should I hide or should I shout? Let the king hear what truth is about. I heard the whispers by the mango tree. The queen was weeping bitterly. Give me gold or the truth shall fly, the hunter said with a lion's cry. Ekuto, should I speak or should I hush? The prince wears royal shoes today, but whose feet walk in them, who can say? The king must know what the river knows, even truth like yam one day shows. Ekuto, should I speak or should I hush? Ekuto's great king with crown upon your head, crown upon your head, a secret sleeps upon your bed. The king must know what the river knows, even truth like yam one day shows. Ekuto, should I speak or should I hush? Ekuto's great king with crown upon your head.
For a moment after Ekutos finished singing, the air froze. Silence fell so thick that it could be sliced with a blade. Even the palace guards, who once stood lazily at ease, were now rooted like Iroko trees, their eyes darting between the king and the girl who had just shaken the heavens. The king sat still, his fingers clenched around a half-empty cup of palm wine that trembled slightly in his hand. Slowly, he set it down on the table beside him, his once smiling face now pale, his chest rising and falling like someone battling for breath. What did you just say?" he asked at last, his voice low, almost fragile. Ekutos, still standing with her arms slightly raised like she has just finished a village hymn, blinked nervously. My king, it was only a song, a special song. I only brought you the truth. Please, I didn't mean to offend you." The king rose to his feet slowly, like a volcano about to erupt. "The truth," he muttered. "You call this truth?" Then his voice erupted like thunder, cracking through a dry sky. "Truth? You come here, sit in my palace, my sacred palace, with my roasted chicken in your belly and my wine dripping from your lips, and you stand there and tell me that I am not the father of my own son." He grabbed the edges of his wrapper and paced like a wounded lion, his chest puffed, his eyes wild. "My queen, my beloved wife, with a hunter, a mere bush hunter, who smells of wild grass and roasted lizard." He turned sharply and bellowed, "How dare you? How dare you walk into my presence with lies in your mouth?" "My king," Ekuta stammered, her hands shaking now. "Please, I beg you. I am only telling you what I heard. I swear on my mother's hairline, I didn't lie. Not one word was added." The king slammed his fist down on the throne. The stool beside it wobbled and fell with a loud thud. If this is true," he said through gritted teeth, "then I have raised another man's child in my palace, under my roof, for 20 years. He threw his head back and screamed, "No! No! How dare she bring a stranger's blood into my royal hairline? How dare she crown another man's seed, Prince of Ophianta?" Suddenly, he turned and pointed at Ekutos, his fingers shaking. "You, how did you hear this? Who sent you? Who are you working for?" "My king," Ekutos said, trembling, "I was walking to buy snuff for my father when I heard them, the king and Onukwe, by the mango tree near the bush path. She was crying, and he was threatening to tell the whole village if she didn't give him 2 bags of gold coins. I only wanted you to know the truth. I even heard that you are impotent." The king stumbled back 3 steps. then dropped into his throne heavily. His hands held his head as though it weighed more than his crown. The queen, the prince, Ebube, my son, he whispered in agony. But then his face darkened. He shot up and turned to the guards beside him, his voice thunderous again. Bring me the queen, now! It didn't take long. Moments later, the queen was ushered into the palace garden. She walked in slowly, her eyes searching the king's face for understanding. But what she saw was rage. Raw, violent rage, ready to erupt. His fists were clenched. His lips trembled. His jaw tightened. He stared at her like she was poison in human form. How dare you, he hissed. How dare you plant the seed of another man in my palace? The queen's hands shook. What are you talking about, my king? Who is the father of Ebube? The king roared. Who did you lay with? Tell me. Tell me now. The queen dropped to her knees. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Then the tears flowed, heavy and fast. I am sorry, my king, she whispered. I never meant to hurt you. I never thought the truth would. I am sorry, please forgive me. The king staggered back, his face twisted in horror. No, this can't be true. No. With one loud scream, he ripped his royal robe into two, his chest bare and heaving. Then he fell to the ground, shaking like dry leaves in harmattan wind. Chaos broke loose in the palace. Maids and guards rushed into the courtyard. The royal gong sounded. The news spread like wildfire through whispers and gasps. The king, the prince, the queen, everything they thought they knew was now shattered. Equator stood frozen for a moment, watching the explosion of royal madness she had caused. Then, slowly, like a mouse escaping from a cat's tail, she slid into the growing crowd of the palace workers and vanished. Her feet hit the ground like thunder as she ran, through the bush paths, past the mango tree, across the road. By the time she reached her compound, she was panting like a goat chased by masquerades. She had done it. She had fulfilled her mission. But as she crawled into her hut and lay still, pretending to sleep, her heart beat wildly in her chest. She didn't know what would happen next, but she knew something was coming, and it might not be chicken and wine this time. Before evening fell, the entire kingdom was on fire. The news had spread like wildfire, from one compound to the next, across every palm wine joint, and deep into the creeks of Ofianta. That's Equatus. The girl with the mouth of thunder had marched into the palace to tell the king that the prince, his only child, was not his. The kingdom was torn apart. Some focused their energy on blaming and cursing the queen, whispering about her betrayal, while also wondering if the king was truly impotent or if it was all just village gossip. But the larger crowd, they rained curses upon Equatus like rainfall in planting season. That girl is an evil child. Ever since she was born, she has been causing wahala in this kingdom. She must have borrowed her tongue from the devil himself. Mothers spat on the ground when they mentioned her name. Fathers warned their daughters not to associate with that cursed gossip, who destroyed a whole kingdom with her lips. Meanwhile, in the marketplace, Olama could feel the heat. The whispers followed her like a shadow. The glances were sharp enough to slice yam. Some women didn't even pretend. They stood up from her salon and walked out, shaking their heads in disgust. "Chai," Uloma muttered, as she watched yet another customer storm off. "This girl has finished me. This girl has finished me." Without wasting another minute, she packed up, threw a wrapper over her shoulder and stormed home in shame. She met Obioma just outside the compound. "Did you hear what's flying all over the village?" she asked, eyes wild. "That's exactly why I ran back," Obioma replied. "Ah, this girl has ruined us. What did we ever do to deserve this kind of child, Uloma? Hey!" Uloma began pacing like a mad woman, hands on her head. The shame, the disgrace, the way the villagers looked at her as she passed, some with pity, others with pure hatred. It was unbearable. Tears poured from her eyes. "Ekutos! Ekutos!" Obioma roared, his voice shaking the compound. "Where is that demon in human form?" From the back of the hut, Ekuta stretched like someone waking from a sweet afternoon nap. She strolled lazily to the front of the compound. "Ah, Papa, Mama, you are back this early?" That was all Uloma needed to hear. "May the gods strike that mouth of yours, Ekutos," she screamed, her voice cracking with pain. "May the gods punish that tongue of yours that has brought us nothing but sorrow. What did you do? What did you tell the king, Ekutos?" Ekutos stood with her hands folded, completely unbothered. Mama, I didn't do anything, no," she said. "I only went to the palace to sing a very special song to the king. I didn't say anything. I don't even know how he found out the truth, Since you warned me not to speak, I just decided to sing him a little something." Obioma stared at her like a ghost. Uloma dropped to the ground, wailing loudly. Their lives had ended just like that. The news had rattled the entire kingdom. The queen and Onukwe were publicly disgraced and banished. The king locked himself away and refused to speak to anyone, not even the elders or his closest guards. As for Obioma and his family, they were now treated like lepers. People avoided their compound like a cursed shrine. Uloma's salon, once the busiest in the village, was now a ghost yard. Women hissed and crossed the road whenever they saw her. Soon after, the village women gathered and passed judgments. Since she cannot control her child, they said, then she will bear the shame alone. Uloma was banned from the markets, from village meetings, from even fetching water at the public stream. Nobody wanted her near them. And the punishment spread quickly like wildfire fueled by gossip. Soon, the family had nothing but shame. No one wanted to associate with them, and even their friends disappeared. It wasn't until hunger came knocking hard and heavy that Ekutos began to realize the gravity of what she had done. The house was dry. Her parents no longer left the compound. Everyone lived in shame and silence. All they had to eat morning, afternoon and night was cocoyam. Cocoyam, boiled, roasted, mashed, sometimes with salt, other times dry. Ekutos sat on the ground one evening, chewing slowly, her face twisted with disgust. "I hate cocoyam," she muttered. But there was nothing else. And at that moment, for the very first time in her life, Ekutos began to wish she had listened to her parents. Several weeks passed, slowly like harmattan mist lifting from the hills. The buzz began to die down. The whispers faded, the stares reduced. The villagers, who once crossed the road to avoid Uloma and Obioma, began to nod greetings again. Even the harsh ban placed on Uloma was finally lifted. She was allowed to return to the market, and life, though still awkward, began to trickle back into normal. That night, under the dim glow of the lantern, Uloma called her daughter into the hut. Her eyes shimmered with tears, but not from shame this time. "Ekutos," she began softly. "The ban has been lifted. We are allowed to live like human beings again. But please, my daughter, do not bring shame to this family again. If there is anything you need, anything at all, talk to us. I and your father are ready to help you." Ekutos nodded slowly, her voice breaking. "I am sorry, Mama. I don't know how it happens, but I hear something. It burns in my chest until I let it out. It's like my mouth has a mind of its own. But I've learnt my lesson. I swear I have." Tears rolled down her cheeks. Uloma looked at her and nodded. Of course, she believed her. Any child who had eaten nothing but cocoyam for 6 weeks would naturally begin to hear the voice of the gods. And for the first time, Uloma saw a broken Ekutos. Not the one who snapped fingers and spread gossip like groundnut shells at a naming ceremony. This one looked humble, different. So, they took a deep breath and moved on, slowly picking up the pieces of their lives. Uloma returned to her shop. Even though half of her customers had vanished, Obioma went back to the palm wine joint, even though laughter followed him like a shadow. But they held their heads up and faced the days one at a time. Since Ekutos had flat out refused to learn how to braid hair, claiming she was allergic to small combs, Uloma and Obioma decided it was time for her to learn something else. Anything productive. Just something to keep her busy. This time, Ekutos, determined to prove she was truly a changed person, chose dressmaking. They approached Mama Nene, one of the most respected seamstresses in the market. She was known for her neat stitches and sharper tongue. When Uloma pleaded with her to take Ekutos as an apprentice, Mama Nene almost laughed herself into a cough. "Ha, that girl, that one whose mouth is louder than the village gong. I don't want her scaring my customers away." But Uloma kept pleading, reminding her that she had been a loyal customer for years. Finally, Mama Nene agreed, but with a very serious condition. One mistake, she warned, raising her finger. Just one loud mouth incident and she's out. No discussion, no second chance. Agreement was made. Witnesses were present, terms were clear. And so, just like that, Ekutos began to learn to sew. At first, the entire village watched with suspicion. They passed by Mama Nene's stall with side eyes and held breaths. But to their surprise, nothing happened. 1 week, 2 weeks, a whole month passed, then another. No drama, no scandal, no fresh gossip, no mouth explosion. For the first time since she learned to walk, Ekutos was focused, bent over fabric, threading needles, holding scissors and learning how to sew blouses and skirts. Even the market women were stunned. "Wonders shall never end," they would mutter, shaking their heads as they peeked through Mama Nene's door. This is the same Ekutos that could not mind her business before. Ha! God is still doing miracles. Soon, people began to relax. The memory of the palace scandal faded into the past. Life resumed. Ofianta slept with both eyes closed again. But deep in the shadows of the story, had Equitas really changed? Because just when it seemed like peace had finally returned, something happened. It was one quiet afternoon at the market. Equitas was seated at the corner of Mama Nene's sewing stall, threading her needle and pretending to mind her business, when she saw her. A maiden. Not just any maiden. A walking vision. She passed by like a breeze. Her steps light, her skin glowing like fresh palm oil under sunlight. It wasn't the first time Equitas had seen her. In fact, she had caught a glimpse of her once before, but today, the girl walked directly past the stall, and something about her presence itched Equitas' spirit. Who is this one? She muttered under her breath, squinting slightly. This face doesn't belong to Ofianta. I have never seen her before. She watched the maiden glide across the market square, like a princess without a crown. No dust touched her clothes. Even the sun seemed to shine more gently on her. And before long, the entire village was talking about her. The market women gossiped in small clusters. The men, they nearly turned to goats fighting each other just to help her carry her bag or pay for her purchases. She came only once every 4 days on Eke market days, and every time she left the entire village stunned and confused. With her well-shaped figure, her flawless brown skin, her soft lips that never stopped smiling, and a height that looked like it was borrowed from a modeling catalogue, she was a complete mystery. No one knew her name. No one knew where she came from. No one had ever seen her family. And when she was done with her shopping, she would simply vanish, quietly, without a trace. But while the men were falling over themselves like unripe mangoes, and the women whispered in envy, Equitas watched. From her corner inside Mama Nene's shop, she observed with the intensity of a cat eyeing a lizard. She squinted, tapped her chin. She started calculating. Something wasn't adding up. No stranger comes to Eke market from another village, she reasoned to herself. The next kingdom is almost 6 hours away on foot. Who would travel that far every 4 days just to buy fresh pepper and okra? Her eyes narrowed even more. That means she lives in this village, she concluded. But where? And who are her people? Why has no one seen her compound? And who braids her hair? Ah, yes, the hair. Equitas noticed something peculiar. Every time this maiden came to the market, she had a freshly braided hairstyle, long and flawless, like she had a personal hairstylist living in her backyard. Yet, when Equitas started asking around, no salon in Ofianta had ever touched her head. Not Mama Chi, not Mama Uchechi, not even her own mother. When Equitas casually asked at the river one evening, one hairdresser snapped, "That's Maiden. I have never laid hands on her head before, and I'm beginning to believe she braids her hair in her dream." Equitas said to herself later that night as she paced in her room, her hands on her waist. Something is not right. That maiden is hiding something, and I, Equitas, must find out what it is. In that moment, all her promises, all her pledges to change, all her weeks of silence and rebranding, gone. With her nose flaring and her eyes wide with suspicion, Equitas switched fully into detective mode. This wasn't just gist. This was a mission. And she, the self-appointed Minister of Village Affairs, was going to find out who this maiden really was. The next Eke market day, Equitas pulled a fast one. Clutching her belly, she groaned and rolled on the mat. "Mama, I am not feeling fine. My head is turning, my spirit is shaking, my bones are weak. I can't go to the shop today. Uloma sighed, completely unaware of the drama brewing in her daughter's mind. Okay, rest well. I'm not roaming about Ekutos. God forbid, she replied, stretching dramatically. Where will I go in this condition? Besides, I am changed. But the moment Uloma's footsteps faded, Ekutos leaped up like a soldier on a mission. She had already marked the path where the mystery maiden usually emerged from and had sharpened her plan like a hunter's knife. She tiptoed through the bush and found a spot near a thick shrub, where she crouched low, hidden like a spy. The goal was simple: follow the girl home and finally unmask her identity. But dear reader, fate had other plans. The next time Ekutos opened her eyes, it was night, pitch black night. Mosquitoes were humming war songs in her ears and feasting on her cheeks. The maiden gone, the market closed, the sky dark. Chimo, she yelped, slapping her neck. She has passed. Ha! She has gone. Me? Slept off. Me, Ekutos. Hey! What kind of disgrace is this? She picked herself up with shame weighing her legs and trudged home with a swollen face, itchy skin and zero gist to offer. But giving up was not in Ekutos' blood. The next decade day, before the cock even sneezed, she was out. This time, she climbed a strong tree close to the path, her eyes wide like a night owl as she waited for the maiden. As the sun hit high in the sky, she saw her walking through that lonely path with an empty basket. Obviously, she was heading to the market. What baffled Ekutos the most was that no one lived on that side of the village where she usually came out from. She would wait patiently until she saw her return. She tried everything possible to keep herself awake. She sang, made noise, jumped from one branch to another. And when she got tired, she just relaxed in one position, waiting patiently. She was almost giving up when she heard footsteps. She looked with shock, and it was her, the mysterious maiden, tall, graceful, carrying her basket of market things, floating like a feather on the wind. Ekutos held her breath. The maiden walked past, completely unaware that the village CCTV camera was watching her from the branches above. As soon as the coast was clear, Ekutos climbed down slowly and began to trail her from a safe distance. The path led into a thick bush. No houses, no farms, no sign of human life. After about 15 minutes, they reached an old udara tree, tall, wide and glowing faintly under the evening sun. Ekutos ducked behind tall grass, her heart pounding like a drum. The maiden stood before the tree and began to sing.
Beautiful tree, your daughter returns. Welcome back, child of fruit and flame. I've danced in the market and smiled through the crowd. I bring you palm oil and spices wrapped in cloth. Lay them down, lay them low. Sing your song, then come back home. My feet are sore, my voice is dry, but my duty I've done. Now open your arms, for your daughter is home.
After singing and dancing for a while, then it happened. The udara tree opened. Like a door made of wind and magic, it parted, and the maiden vanished into it. Just like that, vanished. Equitas froze. Not a blink, not a breath. She stood rooted to the stump of a cut tree, her mouth wide open, eyes bulging. "Chimo!" she finally screamed, then took off running. She didn't look left, she didn't look right. She ran like thunder was chasing her. Her slippers even fell off, but she didn't care. By the time she stumbled into her hut, she was sweating, panting, and near tears. She collapsed on her mat, her chest bouncing like drum beats. What did I just see? She stared at the wall, unable to blink. So, that maiden is a spirit, a tree daughter, a market dancer from the spirit realm. Hey! She sat up quickly, gripping her head. My eyes have seen abomination. I have eaten roasted yam with groundnut oil in peace, oh. And still, this is how the world wants to repay me. Who will believe me? Who can I tell this to? But then she paused. Her brain, that same brain that had landed her in trouble many times, started turning. She scratched her chin slowly. But wait though, how does she come out of the tree? How does she plait her hair? Where does she cook her food? This gist is not yet complete though. She nodded to herself. I must return to that place. I must dig deeper. I must find the full story and tell the people of Ofianta who this maiden truly is. This is not gossip, this is revelation. And with that, she finally laid back on her mat, her eyes wide open, as a soft sound of distant drums beat faintly in her ears, drifting all the way from the udara tree. The next Eke market day, Equitas was up before the first cock crowed. She didn't even wait for dawn to fully stretch its fingers across the sky. This time, she didn't bother with lies or excuses. She tiptoed out of the compound like a thief, her heart beating like a drum inside her chest. She was going to the udara tree, and this time she was going to wait. She wanted to see everything. She was ready. Her mission, complete gist, from the start to the finish. No fragments, no half-baked story. Even when the bush mosquitoes came out with their full battalion, humming like flying witches and dancing around her ears, Equitas remained planted by the bush like a stubborn yam. Her face was scratched, her eyes were red, but her resolve stronger than palm kernel oil. Then it started. She had been there for over an hour when the sound of distant flutes and deep drums floated into the air. Who is beating drum by this time? She whispered, peeking through the tall grasses. The sound grew louder, and then with a sudden whoosh, the udara tree split open again, and there she was, the maiden. By this time, her hair was loose, long and wild like silk in the wind. She stepped out of the tree barefoot, and her lips moved to a melody that sent chills down Equitas' spine.
It's another Eke day and your daughter must shine. with braided hair and beads that glow like stars. Dress her with silk, give her charm and vine, adorn her beauty for men to lose their mind. Oh, tree of magic, prepare me well, with golden wrappers and a secret spell. Let me dazzle the market once again, for I'm your daughter, not of Molite. Ah, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah, Molite, Molite. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah, Molite, Molite. Yeah, la 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 la, yeah la la. Yeah, la 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 la, la la la. Yeah, yeah, Molite, Molite. Haraka bagi bitula just a bamba bird, beating to crash a switch a blata bamba soul. But you be down me, no man stand for it. You be moving alone batting for child. You be born in a long land place. Now there's no loving in this place, and there's seldom your foreign that you place. But you be meeting alone that you for trace. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah, Molite, Molite. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah, Molite, Molite. It's another record day, and your daughter must shine, with braided hair and beads that glow like stars. Dress her with silk, give her charm and vine, adorn her beauty for men to lose their mind. Oh, tree of magic, prepare me well, with golden wrappers and a secret spell. Let me dazzle the market once again, for I am your daughter, not of mortal men. For I am your daughter, not of mortal men. For I am your daughter, not of mortal men.
As the maiden danced, a carved wooden seat appeared from nowhere. She sat gracefully like a queen and stretched her arms. Then something happened that nearly made Equitas choke on her own breath. The maiden removed her own head, calmly, gently, as if she was just taking off a wrapper. And with her disemboweled hands, she began to braid her own hair. Equitas' jaw dropped so hard that it could have even cracked the ground. Chimo, she gasped, her voice barely audible. She took off her head and she's braiding it by herself. Her entire body went cold, her vision blurred. The ground spun beneath her. She tried to shift a little to get a better view, but in that very moment, her foot slipped on dried leaves. Bah! The sound of cracking leaves filled the bush. Equitas froze. She didn't wait for confirmation. She picked up her wrapper and ran like madness had grabbed her by the waist. She didn't stop until she burst into her father's compound, panting, wheezing, sweating like someone who had wrestled an oracle. She collapsed in front of her hut, grabbing her chest. What did I just see? Hey! What is this? Spirit, maiden, Udara tree, head. Hey, my village people, I have entered. But even as fear danced in her belly, curiosity still burned in her eyes. The villagers must hear this, so she whispered, sitting up slowly. The market must know what their fine fresh maiden really is. I will tell them everything. I will not spare even the tiniest detail. She waited until the sun was bright in the sky. By then, the maiden had already made her way to the Eke market. As usual, the men were already chasing after her like bees to honey, offering to carry her basket, offering yam, fish, even their dignity. Equitas marched boldly into the market square. She had no baskets, no goods, just hot gist boiling in her belly. She lifted her wrapper above her ankles and raised her voice like thunder. Hey! Hot gist has landed on Eke Day. Come, oh, come, the truth is out. The market must hear it. The village must know it. I finally found out who the mysterious Eke market maiden is. You wouldn't believe what I found out. People turned immediately. Isn't that Equitas again? Somebody whispered. But she has changed now, hasn't she? Another asked, eyebrows raised. Well, if it's about the strange maiden, let's hear it, an older woman said. This one don't look like ordinary market gist. Soon, a crowd gathered. Women clutched their baskets. Men folded their arms. Even children stopped chasing chickens to watch. Equitas lit up in that moment like a lantern. You people will not believe what I saw with these two blessed eyes of mine. In fact, call me Minister of Information. Minister of Information, the crowd echoed. Call me the voice of Ofianta. The voice of Ofianta, they chanted. Call me the Minister of Village Affairs. Minister of Village Affairs, they chanted. She smiled wide, her wrapper flapping as she twirled like a palm tree in the wind. But just as she opened her mouth to begin the story, she saw her, the mysterious maiden, standing by the palm oil stall, looking straight at her. Their eyes locked, and in that moment, Equitas' tongue vanished. Not a word, not a sound. Her mouth moved like a dry fish, flapping in a bowl, but nothing came out. Talk now, someone shouted. Just us. But Equitas only pointed, her eyes wide, her neck twisting slowly like a puppet losing strings. Suddenly, she fell to the ground. Her body twisted violently. Her wrapper scattered, and then whip sounds, invincible strokes. Boah! Tua! Tua! She was being flogged by spirits no one could see. Her body shook like cassava leaves in heavy rain as she screamed silently, her voice still missing. The villagers screamed and ran for their lives. Abomination! Spirit attack! Chai! This one is beyond us so. Equitas writhed on the ground, dust, tears and pain covering her. Her lips quivered, her eyes rolling. You see that thing she had been searching for a very long time. She finally found it. Uloma and Obioma ran like two mad dogs possessed by the same spirit the moment they heard what was happening at the village square. They abandoned everything and bolted. Their daughter was lying in the open, twisting and wailing even though no one could hear her. Bruises forming before their very eyes as invincible whips lashed her skin over and over again. They managed to carry her home, but the beatings didn't stop. Her body was swollen beyond recognition, her neck bent unnaturally backward, her tongue still missing, and her eyes wide with unspoken agony. Equitas looked like she had danced with the gods and lost. That night, Uloma sat beside her weeping. Obioma too paced the room helpless, whispering prayers to the gods, to their ancestors, to anybody who could hear. What did she do? They cry. Why such wicked torment? By the next morning, Uloma stayed to tend to their daughter while Obioma set out on a journey like no other. He climbed 7 mountains, crossed 7 rivers, journeyed through 7 haunted forests, and knocked on the doors of every known native doctor across the lands. But each one, after listening to his tale, looked at him and said the same thing. This one is bigger than me. Still, Obioma did not give up. 2 weeks passed. 2 whole weeks of unending torture. 2 weeks of torturous beatings, missing tongue, and sleepless nights. Whenever Ekutos closed her eyes to sleep, she would find herself tied to that udara tree, as different strange beings holding very long whips flogged her mercilessly as they shouted, "Will you learn to mind your business? Will you stop saying everything you see and hear?" Her cries meant nothing to them. The beatings continued. Finally, on the 21st day, Obioma found a powerful native doctor, an old grey-bearded seer known as Ataka, deep within the forest of Okpuruzo. The man listened silently, then nodded slowly. "Yes, I can help you, but you must wait till the next Eke day. That is the only day the spirit will speak, as the spirit offended is the spirit of the Eke day." 4 days, Obioma cried, "But she may not survive." "You don't have a choice," Ataka replied. "Let her spirit hold on." And so they waited. Finally, the day came and the truth was revealed. Ekutos had seen what mortal eyes should not see. And as if that was not enough, she wanted to divulge the secret of the spirits to the people. The spirits are very angry with her. And not only have they taken out her tongue, but they are torturing her, flogging her mercilessly every second with a whip of the spirits. Something has to be done. If not, they would kill her, Ataka said. A sacrifice has to be performed in the next Eke market day to appease the offended spirit. If the items are not ready by the next Eke, then you will have to wait until another Eke. You need to be fast. "I will get them ready," Obioma said, panting. The items were listed: 4 big goats, 20 tubers of yam, 7 white hens, a basket of udara. They were really expensive, but Obioma managed to get them all. He couldn't watch his daughter die. On the Eke day, the native doctor held Obioma's hand as he chanted some powerful incantations. They vanished and appeared at the udara tree with the offerings. There, Obioma saw the spirit molesting his daughter, who was tied to the udara tree. Broken, he went down on his knees with Ataka, the native doctor, as they began to plead with the spirit, who looked very angry. It took a very long time before the spirits finally calmed down, and voices echoed as they spoke in the language only Ataka understood. "They have heard your cries. They have seen your gifts, but their condition is simple." Obioma held his breath. She must promise with her life never to speak of what doesn't concern her again. She must learn to mind her business. One mistake and the next punishment will be worse. Far worse. Ekutos, tied to the tree, nodded so fast that it looked like her neck was going to fall off. Obioma also raised his hand. "I swear, she will never gossip again in her life. Please, just let her go." The spirit howled one last time, danced around the offerings, and then silence. It was done. Ataka took Obioma's hand, and in a flash of wind, they were back in his forest shrine. "You can return and see your daughter," he said. Obioma thanked him with gifts, fell at his feet, and rushed home. When he returned home, Ekutos had been freed by the angry spirits. Her voice had returned, but her body still bore the marks of her 30 days of torture in the land of the spirits. Weeks passed. She slowly began to heal, but something had changed. Something deep. The villagers couldn't believe it. The same Equitus, who used to scatter the market with gist and shout from one end of the village to the other, now walked quietly, dressed beautifully, her eyes low, her mouth sealed like a calabash filled with sacred wine. She focused on perfecting her tailoring skills at Mama Nene's shop. She learned fast. She worked hard. When she was not sewing, she was home cooking, sweeping, fetching water, helping her mother and minding her business. Not once did she say anything that didn't concern her. Even when she came across hot gist, real premium gist, Equitus looked away and walked past like she hadn't heard a thing. Wonder shall never end, the villagers said. Even the gods must be shocked, some added. Obioma and Uloma couldn't stop smiling. Their joy was complete. They had been given back their daughter, by this time refined by fire. And that, dear listeners, was how Equitus, the loud-mouthed minister of village affairs and radio without battery, became the most quiet, most focused, and most beautiful maiden in Ofianta. Peace finally returned to the village, and so did wisdom. Hey besties, this was a really long ride, but finally we came to the end of the story. I hope you enjoyed it and you learned one or two lessons from it. I would love you to share your thoughts in the comments section. And if you enjoy our stories and you're yet to subscribe to this channel, do not skip this video without hitting on the subscribe button and turn on your notification bell to get notified whenever we post new stories. Thank you for all your love and support. That means so much to me and I won't even trade it for anything. Right now, I'll have to go and see you in our next story. Bye!